We look to be holding steady, so let's get started. First off, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. Today, we are here to discuss the Americans with Disability Act. We have three panelists that are going to offer some unique perspective on what this is and why it's important to your organization. We're going to do a round of introductions. I'll get it started. My name is Dave Saibo. I am your MC for today. I am part of the customer experience team here at ReciteMe. I've been working in digital accessibility for going on about 7 years now. I really love this industry and excited to be with you guys here today. A little description about me. I am bald, no hair up top, but I do have a beard that I'm liking to grow out a little thicker these days. I'm wearing glasses and a green polo. I will now kick it over to Chris H.
Brilliant. Thanks, David. So as an introduction to myself, my name is Chris Holloway. I'm Head of Accessibility for ReciteMe. So I'm responsible for the ongoing consultancy piece around digital accessibility, but also the strategy that's going through the firm as well and how we deliver that. I've been in the industry for around about 10 years and I started specializing in assistive technology initially, and then moved into kind of accessibility compliance. As a visual description myself, I'm actually based in or near London in the UK. So it's raining outside, so not great weather. And a visual description to myself, I'm 30-something. I haven't got as good a beard as David, but I'm wearing a black shirt and I'm a white male.
Thank you very much, Chris. Next up, we have Morgan.
Morgan Albert Smith. I'm in the city of Stanton. That is in lovely Virginia on the East Coast of the United States. I'm the communications coordinator and executive assistant to our city manager's office. My background is I've shortly been with local government, but I was a webmaster in higher education for about 17 years. And I am a brunette, dark brown hair, navy blue blouse, polka dots. There you go.
And then last but certainly not least, Chris B.
Yeah, hey everyone, my name is Chris Bullock. I'm CEO and co-founder of ClearGov. We build easy-to-use software to help governments budget better. I'll be talking about why we are really paying a lot of attention to the American Disabilities Act, helping governments not only budget better, but be more transparent with their finances. So looking forward to the conversation. I myself am also a white male with brown hair, and I also have a beard, and I'm wearing a blue polo.
Thank you so much, everyone. All right, so what are we going to be discussing today? First things first, for any of you that are unfamiliar with our organization, ReciteMe, we are an accessibility firm. As Chris alluded to, we provide both software and consulting services. We're going to dive into that a little bit later on the call in more detail, but we're thrilled to have you guys all on the webinar today. So today, our primary agenda is going to be just covering a few things. First, what is accessibility? What do we mean by digital accessibility? Dovetailing that into an overview of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and then the risk that comes with non-compliance. What are your obligations under that law? You're going to hear from our in-house head of digital accessibility, Chris. You're going to hear from Morgan with the city of Stanton, and then you're also going to hear from Chris B., our ClearGov partner. We are going to review some common accessibility issues that you might find. We have a couple tips prepared for you as it relates to the upcoming Department of Justice deadlines, and then also, again, an overview about how ReciteMe can help your organization. So to kick it off, Chris H., would you tell us a little bit about digital accessibility and the Americans with Disability Act?
Brilliant. Thanks, David. And I think probably for me, it's a privilege to have this as being one of the first slides. Not many people, when they're talking about accessibility, they really overcomplicate it. So I'm hoping what I've got on the screen here will kind of break that down a little bit. So for us, if I'm asked what is accessibility, this is kind of the definition I see that in. So accessibility means something different to everybody. Okay, I've never met two people that have the same accessibility needs or even the same understanding of what accessibility is. So it is something that I think context, comes into play. For us, the dictionary definition of accessible is that it's capable of being reached, used, seen, and understood. So we could be talking around technology, for example, information. We could be talking about an environment, but we could also talking about an experience as well. So easily used and accessible by people with disabilities and everybody. Okay, adapted for use by people with disabilities. So having content, and we're going to cover this in a little depth as we go through here, but having content that can be manipulated or adapted, made suitable for anybody feels like a really good deal to me as well. So what does accessibility mean online? Okay, so accessibility, when we're talking about websites, tools, technologies, anything that's designed and developed so that people with disabilities can use them. So we could be looking at things like how you book your transport, how you book a hotel room, how you find information around, some of the governments that you're sort of living in. How do we get involved with, education, schools, everything that we touch that has digital content on is something that we're talking around should be accessible. More specifically, people should be able to and can perceive the information. They should be able to understand what the information is that's being passed through the technology, should be able to navigate something really easily, but also should be able to interact with it. So what we want is content that really is suitable for anybody to use. And obviously that for us, for me, is what accessibility is. Again, what I've found since I've been in the industry over the last few years is that that's continually evolving. Okay, and what we found is better questions, better understanding that is coming through from people that are actually sharing lived experience around what accessibility is as well. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay, so why build an inclusive and accessible website? I've just covered some of the areas there. However, first things to do is it is the right thing to do. Okay, it's not the only thing to do, but it's something that everybody should be able to do and should have the opportunity to do. So I think for us as well, saying it's the right thing to do, we could also be talking about it might be that you're not barred, or you may have no issues with accessing content, but it might be that you may have family members around you, you may have friends, you may have family that are actually struggling with digital accessibility and content as well. So it is the right thing to do. Back to the next one. It's a smart business practice. Why would you want to create a business model or content that actually isn't your whole target audience? Why would you want to exclude people? Okay, so it's a smart business practice thing to do, because the more people that are able to access your content, obviously the better your business is going to be. So provide an accessible website. It does increase the traffic, but also it increases the retention. People aren't coming to your site realizing that they can't get any further and leaving. You're retaining them, so it's the smart thing to do. And yes, it is required by law. Okay, again, covering it's the right thing to do. It's a smart thing to do. Yes, you've got the laws that do regulate and cover that. So laws and mandates stipulate that how websites should be designed and are built. Very, very important. And the reason for that is we want something to be sustainable. We want the approach to be effectively the same across everybody, so everybody gets the same experience or something that is suitable to them. If I get to the next slide, please. And who needs support online? Okay, so over 61 million people in the US alone live with some form of disability. Now, that could be that they have a visible disability. It could be a temporary disability. It could be an invisible disability like myself. When we're looking at that makeup, you also have people that have multiple different disabilities as well. Perhaps don't identify themselves as being disabled, which is absolutely fine. But there's also other contributing factors as well, in terms of environment could be an impact. It could be a temporary, it could be a situational disability, permanent, it could be a life-limiting disability. So for us, huge numbers, 61 million, over 12 million people in the United States have some form of vision impairment. And again, that's a sliding scale. That could be somebody that's slowly losing their vision through age, up to somebody that may have a permanent disability or permanent vision loss from birth. Also remember, you may have people that come in with things like other conditions like cataracts, but also temporary infections in your eye. Everything like that plays into some form of vision impairment. With over 20 million people in the US having a learning difficulty, like myself, effectively, again, broad scale, we could be going across different disabilities here. But you might be looking at things like someone has a dyslexia, they may have ADHD, they may find that actually coming to work and looking at the content that you're trying to show on the screens, jumping all around or being really distracting, or perhaps is just not really obvious, actually has a massive impact on someone with a cognitive or learning disability. And over 22% of Americans speak a language other than English at home. So just to kind of give you the context around this, I do a lot of accessibility auditing. We were talking earlier, David, around how I audit French sites. And obviously, I don't speak French myself, but actually part of that goes into, well, how well does the website allow me to navigate through based on what the layout of the screen is and what I think I'm going through on the screen. So if you think about that in terms of 22%, over 1 in 5 people that you'd speak to today speaks a different language at home, and you have only English on your website, just think about how difficult that might be in terms of a barrier that gets presented to somebody. If I could have the next slide, please. It does go beyond that. And the reason for this, obviously, you've got a smart business. So we're going to dive into that a little bit further. So attracting a wider audience. Okay, why wouldn't we want to do that? Okay, accessibility expands your customer base by reaching 61 million people with disabilities. So if you think about that in terms of what we refer to as being called the click away pound, okay, or the click away dollar in this sense, what we're talking about is people coming to your website, looking to buy something from you or looking for a service, and actually being discriminated against at that point where they can't actually progress through and use your website. They're very likely either to really suffer and struggle with no information, be discriminated against to the point where they may go to a client. So what we're looking for is, how do you actually interact with a wider audience? $490 billion is the spending power, the collective spending power of people with disabilities, that effectively you may not be tapping into, you may not be supporting, you may not be valuing those people in terms of coming to your website and being able to use it. There is a boost on brand reputation. Commitment to accessibility enhances brand image and builds customer loyalty. Well, it's things like, are you representing the right people in terms of people that are in your business alone that may have a disability? Are you giving them the opportunity, part of that experience when you're building your websites or your content? That brand reputation, if you, for example, are limiting your audience that are coming to your website because they can't use keyboard alone to go through some of the content, doesn't look good. But also it just means that actually they're going to spread the word back to their audiences, their circle of friends, their organizations, to go, well, actually this company or this organization, they don't value people like us. Let's not use them. So actually the reputational damage there far exceeds anything in terms of some of the fines that you may get, because that's something that sticks, isn't it? If you damage your reputation, it's very difficult to then come back and kind of demonstrate that you are doing the right things. 28% increase in profit margins. Okay, so if you're looking at this here in terms of, if you've got a better reputation, you are absolutely actively supporting people with disabilities through your platform. You're making sure that people can use your site, they can buy the amazing products that you're trying to sell. Then obviously that's going to end in obviously profit margins increasing. So for us, it's about companies that embrace best practices. For employees, so remember, we're not just talking about your clients here, or your customers, we're talking about supporting your staff internally as well. If you're supporting those through best practice and employing and supporting people with disabilities, then yes, you are absolutely going to see an increase, because people are happier. When people come to your site and can feel supported, they're going to be happier. They're likely to want to provide money. They like to give experience, and you know what? They may even want to come and work for you because you're demonstrating the right values. If I could have the next slide, please. So what is ADA or ADA? So for us, ADA, Digital Accessibility Law, and DOJ, so Department of Justice ruling, ensures equal access to digital access. Ensures equal digital access for individuals. So for us, again, that covers everything through to a website, a kiosk that you might be using. Everything that digital covers is part of it. It applies to public entity websites and mobile apps. But also we've seen, for us as well, especially through Recite, we've seen an increase in people that are using mobile apps, which is great. So it aligns to accessibility standards with WCAG 2.1, or commonly known as WCAG, or Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2.1. So at the moment, remember, we do have 2.2 out. I think we're going to cover that in a little, but 2.1 level AA is what we need to be compliant against or meeting. It mandates the removal of digital barriers. Okay, so remember, we're not talking about issues here. And one of the reasons why we particularly use the word barrier, I think if we're talking about issues, it's not an issue. It's your issue. It's not the person that's coming to your site's issue. So we mandates the removal of digital barriers. It promotes inclusivity and participation in society. Absolutely. It's also legal requirement under ADA for state and governments, local governments too. So it covers quite a lot. We are going to cover that in a bit more depth as we go through. If I cover the next slide. So the ADA timelines, this isn't new. A lot of people would be looking at the new or the latest deadlines that are pending as, why have we not heard about this? It must be new. Actually, it's far from it. So ADA was signed into law in 1990s. Fast forward a little bit, between 2000 and 2010, digital accessibility becomes a focus. So we're talking about things like courts and the Department of Justice beginning interpreting Title II. So it includes websites and digital services. So one of the things to remember, just to kind of highlight, is Title II focuses more towards digital content. It doesn't necessarily call out websites. 2018, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself now, so slow down, Chris. 2018, WCAG 2.1 was published. Okay, so that is obviously where we're trying to meet that compliance level. And 2024 is the final rule issued by Department of Justice. So that is in terms of websites and mobile apps must conform to WCAG 2.1 level AA. We're also going to talk about what that looks like as well as we go through. For entities serving more than 50,000 people, the deadline is April 2026. So it is coming up very, very quickly. Also for entities serving less than 50,000 people, the deadline is slightly further out. I would absolutely still be trying to meet that 2026 and give yourself time. But the deadline for that is April 2027. So there's a little bit of a difference between the two. So again, when does the DOJ go into effect? When does this actually become something that you must be doing? Well, the date is April 2026. And there is a comment on here which is brilliant, is really don't have long to take action on this. Okay, by the time we're talking about development cycles, by the time we're looking at accessibility testing, by the time you've got feedback from disabled employees and customers coming into your sites or looking at content, that really eats into your deadline. So we're looking at April 2026. You don't have long for this. Again, don't panic. I think that's the main thing that we'd like to kind of stress, because there are things that we could show as we go through this. Remember, that's for populations less than 50,000. Again, the deadline for that is April 2027. And who does the ADA apply to? Okay, so if we're looking at this from content, this includes obviously things like PDFs, for example, other digital content, everything that's presentations, anything that people would use as they come into your service. I think it's really, when you look at why, if we're looking at federal, state, and government, local government agencies, we're talking about people's lives at this point, things that are life supporting to an individual needing that content. So We're also looking at things like non-profit organizations. Okay, so charities, for example, there is a slight difference in terms of the titles that will cover these. I think we've got a question a bit later on that we'll cover as well, because some of these are slightly different to others. So, for example, federal, state, and local government, you'd be looking at Title 3, I believe, and obviously non-profit organisations would be Title 2. So, just as important, still have the same rules around them. However, there is a little bit of difference between compliance at the moment. We're also talking about private businesses, okay, businesses that are serving outside of the public eye, but actually are really important. The reason for that, again, we must be supporting our employees. We must be supporting people that are coming to us for relying on information, but also as we're going out to the industry as well. So private businesses and employment entities. Well, so if I can have the next slide. This is the kind of stick moment, is the risks of non-compliance. Okay, Americans with Disability Act, ADA, there are legal penalties. Okay, we're not going to go into too much depth around what they are, because they are different in terms of what state you are in, but also it depends solely on how compliant you are and what effort you are making towards meeting that compliance level. We've covered brand reputation damage. Very difficult, again, like we said, to shake that once it's there. Reputational damage sticks. It's something that will it will follow you as you go through. Regulatory scrutiny and market access limitations. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is, if you are building something that isn't accessible, that you are expecting or intending to sell to another organization, if you are not meeting that compliance level, you are very likely to get asked, well, what have you done? Are you compliant? If you're not, you're very likely to quickly cap your market reach in terms of you won't be serving that organization. Okay, so that's why I'm talking about market access limitations will stop you from winning work if you're not compliant. But also it's that consumer and employee satisfaction. If I'm honest with you, the most important thing on this slide, why shouldn't we be giving disabled people amazing experiences that equal what other people get? Why should we be reducing that down to a really boring slide deck that doesn't give all the information, or perhaps limits access to sales or opportunities to enhance finances or build a career in a really successful area or a successful way, support their families? Everything around that we should be looking at. And obviously, why would you want to come to work in a place that is discriminating against you just because they can't be bothered to put an accessible email out to you, or the content that they're providing just doesn't meet your needs and requirements? So again, consumer employee dissatisfaction, for me, probably the most important thing on this slide. If I go to the next slide, please. Okay, steps to become ADA compliant. Okay, so there's a lot, and again, I said at the beginning, it's not about overcomplicating this and confusing yourself. There's loads of different resources out there that Recite.me can offer you. However, these are some of the things that we would do. So look at enhancing your user experience. I covered it slightly on the slide before, but provide the Recite.me toolbar, perhaps, something like that, that gives visitors control, but options to improve their experience. And use feedback. Feedback is so important. We really underrate it. If you're getting feedback from somebody, make sure that you are acting on it. Bring that in. Perhaps have more conversations with your users. Try and understand what the barriers are, so you can get remediations in and fix things. So get feedback. Accessibility to compliance. Okay, so understand site's issues. You can't fix something if you really don't understand what you're trying to fix. I think that's probably the main thing. If you don't know what you're trying to fix, you can't put timelines around it. If you can't put timelines around something, you're going to give somebody a really terrible experience, and they're not going to have trust in your brand or your compliance. So for us, it's understand site issues and prioritize critical fixes to build an accessible, compliant website. Accessibility roadmaps, again, don't underrate these. Create an accessibility statement. We have templates that we can share and help with, but also policies to show what the effort is that you're putting into this. Are you spending time really understanding and learning about this? If you are, great, tell your audience, because actually that transparency can really help them trust you. And they'll look at your brand and go, we really value that this organization is spending time in investing in training and upskilling in their teams, but they're also putting in the fixes. So for us, it's about showing your commitment, showing involvement in accessibility, being really transparent with an accessibility roadmap. And remediation plan, again, it sounds really complicated. What we're talking about is establishing a process or a program that continuously moves the bar. What we don't want to do at this point is fix it and we're done, because the next time a release comes out or something happens in the future, you're back to square one again. What we should be doing is looking at how you build that into your processes, baking it in, bring it in right at the beginning. So if you're having conversations with somebody about a new website, for example, bring people in at that point to really learn about it. So establishing a sustainable program for continuous improvement and compliance. And we talked about the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines at the beginning, so the WCAG. So what these effectively are, they're a globally recognized framework or standards. And actually, the reason why they're really important for this is they actually just give some standardization, best practice that people can strive to meet. Okay, they are split down into different areas. Okay, so what we're looking for here is when we specifically walk through the WCAG, we're looking for something to be perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. They're the 4 areas that it typically covers. That's then split into levels. Okay, so we have level A, which is a minimum standard. Okay, it provides a basic level of accessibility. Now what we're looking for here is compatibility with assistive technologies as well. Okay, so trying to meet the standards, but we want to make sure that your website and your content is accessible, and it's somebody coming onto your site with a screen reader perhaps, or using different technologies can interact with your content. That's what we're looking for. That's split into 3 levels. Again, a single A is minimum. If you're looking to be compliant, you need to be meeting at least a AA compliance standard. So when we're talking about that, it is an industry recognized level. It doesn't mean that's the lowest. You can go further than that. I would always recommend going and having a look at the AAA standards. Again, WCAG or ADA stipulates you need to meet a 2.1 AA. So again, kind of middle of the road. It just says that your content is accessible enough for a screen reader and also assistive technologies, but don't let that stop you. Keep going. Have a look at the AAA stuff. Again, you'll be looking at some of that and going, this is really complicated. May not be quite the right time for you. Level back, learn a little bit about it, and perhaps take another run up to look at AA. But realistically, we should be meeting AA. You must have met all of the single A first in order to kind of, we must have met all of single A in order to meet all the AA as well. So everything below needs to be met in order to kind of reach that. If I go to the next slide. Easy WCAG fixes, so Web Content Accessibility Guidelines fixes. So these are 3 of many checks. Okay, so these aren't exhaustive, but these are things that we spot coming up regularly which might help. So things like alternative text on images. So if I was to read it as the standard, the WCAG standard is 1.1.1, none text content at a level A. That's kind of the high level goal of what we're looking for. And what we need to be able to do to meet that is provide text alternatives for any non-text content that is not considered decorative. So it can be changed into other forms that people need, such as large print, braille, speech, symbols. So the example we have there is if you have an image on your screen that shows information, okay, so it may have text in there, it has information, it needs to be visible to somebody with a screen reader. You need to be able to give an alternative version of that. And that's why we're talking about a text-based version of non-text content. We talked about decorative in there. Not everything has to have alternative text. Okay, I'm not going to go into too much depth in terms of how you'd code that. But what we are looking for is if something's decorative, then the likelihood is it probably doesn't need to be seen by assistive technologies, that we would be looking at how you hide that. Color contrast is another hot one. Tend to see this coming up quite a lot when somebody's perhaps going for a brand refresh or trying to show information through graphs. So 1.4.3 contrast minimum level AA. It's about making content easier to see, color effectively. So if you've got color and text is trying to explain it. If you have color, the color of the text foreground image and color of a background image, if that color is too similar, you end up with a ratio that makes it really difficult to then read what that information is. So what we're looking for is to make sure that the color difference between text and background or whatever it is you're trying to demonstrate is enough that it can be received by somebody. Okay, so there are some standards around that. We do have a link that's actually on the slide here for the ReciteMe color contrast checker. I definitely recommend just going and have a click around, because you'll be amazed at how just that small difference that you do through content makes a lot of difference to somebody being able to visibly see your content. Page structure, so things like page titles, so people, they can navigate through your content in different ways, but actually if you've got things like really clearly defined content headers in there, and you've got your content laid out in a nice way, first of all, it makes it easier for someone that's using screen reader to go through your content. But the point we're trying to make here is that somebody with a cognitive disability, they actually might use those headings to kind of remember where they are on the page and what title they're on. It's really, really important to kind of make sure that you mark those up. We do have a toolkit that's highlighted here as well to kind of break that down, and it helps with just what you'd expect content to look like. Next slide. I think we're over to Morgan. I think David's going to introduce, so I'll pass back to David.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, but I think you did a really good job of making that digestible. And what I really appreciated was something that you said at the beginning there. I think often when we think about accessibility, we view it through a compliance prism, but that personal connection to it is really important. I've been in this industry, like I said, for several years, and almost to a T, every organization that I've seen that has really taken this to heart and taken it seriously, those are the ones that succeed. Folks that view this as part of a checklist, maybe they achieve temporary digital accessibility, but it lapses, or they end up falling short and they get very frustrated with it. So I think that personal connection to this as a problem, a human problem, is really paramount to success. So we want to hand it over to Morgan as an example of an organization that is taking this seriously and doing a great job making their assets accessible. Morgan?
Well, I don't know if we're doing a great job. I mean, thank you. Thank you for that. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about the city of Stanton's path to web compliance. Again, we're in Virginia. You go ahead and go to the next slide. Let's talk about Stanton a little bit first, so you can kind of get what we are and who we are. So we are actually only about 25,000 residents. So that's great, because that April 2027 is in my head. I have had it in my head for a while. And so our vision for Stanton is, here, let me do that. I'm looking at 40 different screens. That's the other thing. So we are a culturally rich, historic city with an exciting future of innovation, growth, and resilience. And you belong here. That's our vision. Our mission, we don't really have per se a mission, because we have values and we have strategic areas. So our city council set forth 5 values. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Integrity, inclusion and equity, which is very important, excellence, engagement, and being environmentally conscious. So that's what we, as the city of Stanton and the staff that work here, try to instill in everything we do and everything for all of our citizens. We're an independent city. We only, like I said, we have only about 25,000 residents. So that's who we focus on. Our taxpayers, our city council, our school board, everything is from those 25,000 people. You know, those are our people. That's who we need to worry about. And yes, of course, tourism is important. So we've got a separate website for that. But really, our website and our mission, our programs are for our citizens, our 25,000 people. That's who we really, those are our people. So What kind of programs do we have? Just to tell you about Stanton, I mean, what does your locality offer? I mean, you've got water, sewer, trash pickup, parks and recreation, zoning, planning, permitting. I want to build a house, so I need to talk to the people here. I'm building on a new property, so I need to worry about my environmental footprint, that kind of thing. Our library, fire and rescue, safety, animal control, everything you can think of. That's what we do. And that's what we have to demonstrate and make accessible on our website. So what I'm going to talk to you mainly about today is our includes our digital accessibility, really. Sorry, I have my speaker notes and I'm obsessive about this. Here we go. Because I'm not as off the cuff of it as everybody else is. All right, so we have our current website that we have. You can see a little screenshot over there on the slide was redesigned in 2017. Now, that was a long time ago, and you're really supposed to redesign your websites every 2 to 3 years. But we're not going to fix what's not broken. Our website is pretty accessible right now. It's pretty simple. It's clean. We can incrementally go in and tweak what's wrong with it, but the overall generic, simple, fairly easy to navigate, our design is okay. And I'm going to fight way more for compliance than I'm going to fight for making it pretty. Because you can go to those websites that are pretty and you're not going to find anything. And if I can't find anything, someone who has to use a visual reader can't find anything. I mean, it's just, I've seen so many websites, old school webmaster here, that if you read it, it's not going to read across the screen for you. And you can tell that. That's how you've got to be able to design your website, is make things organized, have your sections so that, think about it like a file structure. All right, so here's our barriers. I really like that term, Chris, instead of a problem, our barriers here. So our barriers are that we have a huge website. We have no webmaster. We have a whole bunch of different departments with different skill levels, with different job responsibilities, updating their sections of the website. So no real oversight, somewhat out of our department, the city manager's office, but not really. So I have done this, we have roughly 25 departments, and 36 people out of those 25 departments have updating rights. 4 of them are super users, myself included. And currently there are 556 pages on our website. And there are, more importantly, the biggest issue, we have 2,542 PDFs. Okay. That's what local government websites are all about. PDFs. We'll make sure it's on the website for everybody. So let's just make it a PDF. We'll just do that. But the problem is most of those PDFs are just PDFs. It's not, you can't read it. It makes itself its image, all kinds of things. And according to the WCAG, there are a lot that are exempt, which is nice. A lot of ours before the deadline don't count, that we don't have to fix them. But then you look at it again and go, well, wait a minute. It needs to be anything that's our service or a program or an activity or a form okay, well, now you're back to the 2,500 PDFs that are now not in great shape. But here's the good thing. So there are tools out there, and that's what's kind of awesome. Recite Me is one that we are currently using as a tool. You can see on my screenshot there, you can see the little guy in the corner in our color. And if you click him, the amazing comes up, and it reads your site, it translates it. In a little bit later, I'm going to show you a video from one of our people who can tell you about it. But there are tools out there for folks. It's not like you have to do this entirely in-house. The city of Stanton contracts with Granicus they host our website. That actually has a lot of built-in tools. You can, again, that little screenshot over there, I wish I could circle it. You can't see me circling it. But it's on every web page, you have font size, share and bookmark, which is a little antiquated, and feedback and print. That feedback button is huge. People click it, they can give us mistakes, errors, they can have a question on that web page. Anything they know, they can get to us. The font size kind of doesn't matter as much anymore because we have Recite Me and that has way more tools. But if they don't want to click that button, they've got that option right there. And of course, you can do it in your browser and things like that. There are back end items that we can do, of course, through Granicus. We can do SEO, HTML tags, colors, everything to make it cleaner, easier to read for a reader. And we actually have tested a couple of the pages that are heavy and duty with the Recite Me to see how it does. We also have Site Improve. That is another one for accessibility tracking and checking. Recite Me, by the way, has the same tool. We just happen to be with Site Improve first. They will send me a weekly email that tells me where there's broken items all over the site, where broken links, where there's misspellings, where there are issues. They actually do the WCAG, so I know where I am. I know where our website is on the tracking. We're probably at about 90% level A, 85% double A, and we're not so great on the triple A, but we're getting there. Another barrier that I'm thinking about with everyone is that our compliance requires training and authorization from management for that time commitment. We've got those 36 folks out there who don't have time for this. It's just an afterthought. Websites are just an afterthought in their mind, but we've got to get this compliance, right? April 2027 is my deadline. It's got to be more than just me and my other colleague trying to fix all this. We need to train people on how to make our PDFs compliant, but the tools are out there. They really are. Make it a plan, make it a commitment, get your leadership involved. And luckily, my leadership is involved. We have a really strong focus on compliance and on equity. I mean, equity is huge. We need this. So you'll see my last bullet there is no documented complaints regarding access to our website. Next slide, please. But so we don't have any documented compliance, but making a space accessible for some is making a space accessible for all. Everyone deserves the right, and it is a right for the accessibility to websites. You should be able to do, anyone should be able to take that same form online and complete it as just everyone else can. What if you only have a mobile phone? And we want you to be able to access everything for the city's website on your mobile. You've got to be able to do that. What about low internet connectivity? You've got to be able to get to it. It's got to be accessible so that you can do everything you can do just like everyone else. It's got to be equal. It's got to be completely accessible. Next slide, please. This is a video here about if you go ahead and play the video, that would be awesome.
We're working on it, Morgan.
Okay, well, let me talk about it a little bit. Okay, so the lady that is interviewed in this is our chair of our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission, Antu Nguyen. And we decided on staff, of course, to Recite Me reached out to us and said, hey, would you be interested in this? And we immediately said, well, yeah, this is an easy way right now to be able to improve our website quickly and hugely effectively. The tools are incredible. And it's just, I mean, you can see little screenshots down there in the video playing that just what it can do. Antu discusses in the video, and you guys can get a link of it later, that she speaks a specific dialect of Filipino, and I think it's Filipino, and it was there. She could translate and be able to, so her family back home could look at the website, the place where she works, and could understand everything that she did. And there's so many languages there, and it's so many opportunities. And that's compliance too. You know, a lot of people don't think, oh, translating it, or, oh, we only have to translate it into Spanish. Well, there's a lot more languages in the United States, and the ability for people to be able to access means everything, right? It's not just it's not that I can read it or I can physically see it. It also means, can I understand it through a language? Is it in English understandable enough that anyone can read it and understand? I mean, it's got to not be, I came from higher education, right? And they all talk up here. And half the people talk and you don't understand. They like to use the big words and make it so that everybody in the room's looking at them like, sure. But that's not what it's about. It's got to be accessible for everyone. Next slide. I have not followed my speaker's notes at all. Okay, anyway, so why is it really, really important for the city of Stanton? Well, we are home to the Talking Book Center, which is a really cool thing. It is a part of our library. It's for all people in this area in Virginia. There are books. You can get books from the library that are read to you. They will actually give out, well, and we're home to the Virginia School for the Deaf and Blind. We're the only one in Virginia now. And we are home. These are our people. We've got to be accessible to our own and to everyone. And we need, yeah, it's just, I'm very passionate about this, and everyone can do this. There are tools, there are steps. You just need to do it. And my speaker notes in here is, I'm crossing my fingers that it's not up to the half of a person we basically have in charge of the website right now, which is me. But it's awesome. We've got to do it. April 2027, I've got that in my brain. That's when we've got to be compliant. And I'm here to talk with anybody about it on how to do this on a dime, and what kind of things you can study and learn about to do it in-house as much as you can. Oh, there's me.
Thank you, Morgan. Thank you. We really appreciate that insight. Great success story. I know Chris is going to want to talk to you about that Granicus partnership, and we're going to want to talk to you about Site Improve. But otherwise, bravo. Great job by the city of Stanton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Slight change in the agenda. We're running a little bit over. So, Chris B., if you're okay with it, we'd like to have tell us a little bit about ClearGov.
Yeah. Well, I'll make this short and sweet. I know we have a few minutes left. So again, everyone, hello. My name is Chris Bullock, CEO of ClearGov. You may be wondering who we are. Well, we work with over 1,400 local governments across the country to help them with their budgeting. Right. We create easy to use software that helps governments budget better, and that's everything from the back office administrative tools that help them create that budget, but it also includes communicating that budget to the public. And that's actually where we started. We started as a transparency company to help local governments better communicate that budget through transparency centers, hence the name ClearGov. So if you go to the next slide. And so, yeah, why does this matter to us, right? And I think we've already talked about that there is a federal and state mandate coming up in the DOJ's ruling, but also states like Colorado have already enacted much more stringent laws. Their laws actually went into effect for all local municipalities in Colorado as of July 1st this year. So we're really, trying to get ahead of the game and work with those municipalities in Colorado and meet those federal and state mandates. But look, I think, it's fair to say that digital access is now expected. And, a few people have already said, this is just the right thing to do. The founding of our company, as I mentioned, was really about taking very complex financials and making them accessible to everyone in a way that anyone can understand. And that really does include the 20 plus percent of uh, internet users out there that have accessibility challenges. Definitely, that number gets larger as you include the language barriers. So it's the right thing to do, and it's now expected, and the federal mandates will put all that in place. You can go to the next slide. So, this is what we do to support local government. So, as I mentioned, we do a couple of different things. One is we create these transparency websites. You can kind of see that in the background there, where anybody can come in and see where their city's money is coming from, where it's going, maybe how much debt they have. A lot of them share non-financial data on their site, and we partner with ReciteMe to make that a lot more ADA accessible through their accessibility toolbar, as well as build in the needed tools to make that accessible out of the box. Some of the stuff, the custom content needs to be updated on their own. So if they add an image, you have to add an alt tag to that. So someone with an assistive technology can read that. So we make all of our stuff compatible with assistive technology. And then we're also, always building different templates. So when they're putting content out there, that they can, be compliant by default. If you go to the next slide, there you go.
There we go. Thank you.
So, I think as Morgan mentioned, most, if not all local governments still rely heavily on PDFs and printed documents, right? And so one of the things that we're really doing is helping local governments move to a more digital first stance. So if you see right here, this is an example of something we call digital budget book. And again, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that we've partnered with ReciteMe to make these budget books a lot more accessible, in addition to our own kind of native ADA, WCAG compliance. But this is an example where, most governments put out our budget book in, 500-page documents. We create them as interactive websites that are natively compliant and give all the tools to help governments, make that available in a much more not only accessible format, but also interactive format. Another good example of helping governments go more towards interactive and website-based first would be online forms. So we also do permits and all that stuff to help governments transition from PDFs to online first, which is again going to be a lot more easily navigable and I think accessible by default. Go to the next slide. So we're constantly improving our PDF technology, and we're also working on some new tools that will, I think, enhance content. And one thing maybe I'll mention, and I'll end on this, is the inclusion of AI. One of the things that we found that really surprised us is we are now using AI to automatically write alt text tags, as well as automatically describe what's in a chart. So it'll actually create content narratives around those charts and around those images that are uploaded to make it easier for screen readers. So there's I think some, as Morgan mentioned, there's many tools out there, but I think AI will start playing a role in helping local governments be more accessible and compliant. So I'll leave us with 2 minutes for Q&A. Huh? How about that?
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chris. And wholeheartedly agree on the AI. We've been introducing AI into both of our software products. Great feedback from our customers. We've been using a little bit of that alt text, just like you were alluding to. So definitely a powerful tool. Chris, H. I think we still have a little bit of time if folks don't need to run. Morgan, Chris, if you guys need to, we totally understand. But Chris is going to talk a little bit about how ReciteMe can help your organization achieve ADA compliance.
Brilliant. Thanks, David. I think really pleased this slide come up, because otherwise, if it was an AI slide, we'd go way over time because I'd end up talking for too long. So some of the things that ReciteMe can help with, obviously for us, we've got a suite of different tools that kind of formulate that platform that is there. Not to necessarily fix everything for you, but it will definitely help you in terms of getting you on that journey, walking you through what you need to do. So for us, for the front end or user experience, you've got assistive toolbar, which Morgan, your video was amazing, kind of demonstrated some of the features that you can use and implement through to back end accessibility builds. So as we're building, as we go through that process, maybe you've got a new website, or maybe something that you've got that you're trying to refresh and rejig to be more accessible. We've got the accessibility checker as well. So that will go through, give you clear guidance on where your barriers are, what kinds of things you can do to resolve and remediate, but also it helps you kind of keep a track of where the issues are and who needs to be involved in that. So really, really useful tool. And obviously for us as well, so there's an area that I lead specifically is around consultancy services. So part of that is around bringing in those people aspects. So we look at things like manual accessibility testing, user experience. How does your website actually work if somebody's going to use assistive technologies in it? So we will actually test using technologies as well. But also we can come out to your teams, we can walk you through how we've done something, provide guidance on things like your strategy. If you're looking at how to improve some of your accessibility templates, you need a bit of help with it. Absolutely, we can help you with that from a consultancy perspective as well. I think we've got another slide, and then we'll go back. Is there another slide? Okay, assisted toolbox. So I think we probably covered some of these. Because we are going to share the slides after, and just in the interest of time as well, some of the features that are listed on here, which you may have seen, are things like converting text to audio. We may have contrast tweaks on there, cursor customization, magnification, AI powered page summarizer, loads of features that will kind of come in. And the key to this is your site needs to be in a good level in terms of our tool being able to kind of work with you as well. So you've got the assistive toolbar there. If I can have the next slide, please. We've got accessibility checker. Again, like we said, it kind of just breaks down those areas that you might need to focus on. It does work specifically around WCAG, okay, so Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. It just breaks those down into just, do you know what, more manageable bite-sized chunks that you can start to take away and start to work on in a better way. So it's things like you go to your website, you run it, you get a heap of issues that come through, you panic, you think, what do I do next? Well, hopefully our tool will help you prioritize some of those, give you some guidance on it, and help you track that, which is the most important thing. So kind of just breaks you through those next steps. We do have a video. I'm not sure, David, if we've got time today.
No video today, Chris.
No,
Yeah.
should we share? What we'll do is we're going to share the slides out anyway. So we
Yes.
will pop the link out for you to go and have a look. Any questions whatsoever on Checker, any of the tools that we've shown today, absolutely would love to talk to you. So please reach out to our sales team and David on the call. We'll happily walk you through those steps. And I think we've got one more slide. Where do you start? Hopefully, the good starting point is you've come to today's webinar, which is a good tick to kind of help you on that way. But web accessibility auditing and planning, it takes planning. It's not something that just happens. You need a lot of people to be involved in this. You need to do it together. And remember that it's a people-focused process. This isn't about just trying to get things in the right way and hoping. Bring people into this process. That's what the whole point of it is. But what some of the things we can do, we can audit key platforms, so websites, apps, and perhaps if you're feeling brave, deploy the toolbar as well whilst you're there. We can automate scans, make it easier. Start to bring some of these scans in for you to try and help you with benchmarking that conformance level. Bring together cross-functional teams, which I think Morgan suggested as well. Include your legal teams, include your design teams, include your development teams. Bring your sales team in, tell them what the hurdles are, what the issues are that you're trying to solve. bring everybody that you can possibly get into those, your leadership, your suppliers, everyone, to have those conversations. Prioritize and fix critical blockers. So that's point number 4. Navigation is really important. Forms, screen readers. So I put 3 things on there. You need somebody who's able to fill a form if they're trying to contact you. You need somebody able to navigate your website to find the information, especially if they're going through something. And again, it needs to be accessible to not just screen readers, but assistive technologies. Okay, for point number 5, review suppliers for accessibility guarantees. It's no good you putting so much effort into making your platform compliant and accessible, yet you're letting your provider or your third party off the hook by just letting them give you something that isn't accessible. So hold them accountable, bring them into those conversations. They may need a little bit of upskilling, a little bit of a prod to help you sometimes, but it's really important that you are reviewing your suppliers and making sure that they're aware that you are making accessibility as a priority. They need to be doing something as well. Again, Morgan, I think I'm echoing your slides, which is great. And obviously, Chris, around some of the platforms here around training core teams. Okay, it doesn't come easy. People do need to learn this stuff. We've got an academy that you can hook into that shows you some guidance and goes through those steps for you. So I think we've got a huge 3-hour academy course that you can go and have a look at. But train your devs up, design, procurement, get them all working together, get them understanding how easy some of this stuff is to implement into their processes. Okay. Number 7, document progress. It's really important to document, yes, the fixes, yes, the barriers. Make sure you're documenting the magic stuff that you're doing, the really good stuff that is kind of actually making a difference. Document that, tell people about it, get people involved, celebrate it. Okay, so it's also important to have things like accessibility statements echoing that, all the fixes that you've done, because it just helps. If you need to go back and have a look at how you fix something, wouldn't it be great if you had a really good experience? You could then evolve that into your next process. Look at timelines, look at your policies, make sure that you're actually compliant in those perspectives. The big thing here is document progress. Make sure that what you have documented in your progress is accessible as well. Okay, so making sure your policies are accessible. Everything that's actually you're trying to do there, make sure that's accessible too. And then I think for us, it's number 8 is set up a feedback mechanism. You can learn so much from just listening to people and actually getting feedback. Obviously, part of that is that you need to react to it. You must react. However, if somebody can't give you feedback, you're never going to improve. Okay, so making sure that somebody can send you feedback really in an easy way, makes sense. Maybe it gets funneled to the right team that can help with that. It's really valuable, and it's something that actually you can really make some progress on. So those are kind of the areas that I would focus on. There are obviously other areas that you can look at around kind of experience and the levels there. But I think if you're kind of looking at this from a people-focused lens first, look after the people, and the compliance will look after itself as long as you are making sure that you're focused. I think that's it for this slide. I think David got one more slide on there, but I'll hand back.
Yeah, no, appreciate that, Chris. So yeah, if you have any questions, please drop us a message. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to have that conversation. If you want to have a more in-depth conversation about the slide that Chris just showed before, we'd love to have that and figure out what's appropriate for you guys and if ReciteMe can help you. We do have a QR code on here if you'd like to get a free compliance check of your website. Okay, we do have a couple of questions. Chris B, first one would be for you. PDFs, that's a hot topic, so I'm not surprised to see this. Many local governments rely on PDFs for legacy or legal reasons. How do you help those agencies transition to more accessible formats without losing that structure?
Yeah, so look, there's a lot of different companies out there that do PDF remediation. And that's not the business that we're in, though we do have tools that help them specifically around their financial content to actually convert that into again, like website-based content that's downloadable via PDF. I think that's kind of the area that we focus on is those budget books, the annual reports, anything that's kind of financial related. It's going to have a lot of complex content in it and in charts, and really making it not just more accessible, but frankly more accessible to everyone and more understandable for everyone.
Excellent. The next question is for Morgan. There's sometimes sort of inertia that gets in the way when you're starting one of these projects. So the question for you, Morgan, would be is how did you get buy-in from your leadership when you were initially looking to invest in tools like ReciteMe?
I have to, well, so we have a DEI commission.
Okay.
And one of their recommendations to improve was to make our website more accessible. And conveniently, ReciteMe happened to reach right out to us, and it was a quick step. Okay, we can make the website more accessible right now. And so our leadership, very important to us and important to the city of Stanton, is that inclusion and equity. So, boom, fit right in.
Yeah, I love that. Getting champions, colleagues as champions. That's a pretty common theme from our customers. Is it's not usually just one person; it's a collection of people to come together wanting to solve this. So,
yep,
fantastic. We didn't have any other questions in the chat, and I appreciate that we're 10 minutes over. So we're going to call it here. Thank you so much for everyone that stuck around. Again, we will send the recording out if you did have to drop early, or if you just want to review anything. Thank you all so much. We hope you have a great rest of your week. Enjoy your summer.
Thanks, Scott.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.